I'd like to wish everyone at the Life Center and all who are watching today a happy Easter as we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. For today's message, I am going to do a first-person narrative in that I am going to reenact the person of the Roman centurion in the passage we just had read to us in Matthew 27. I'd like to also thank Tori Robinson and the people at the Voices of Easter for their script in making this become a reality. Enjoy. He is risen. He is risen indeed. It is great to celebrate this Easter Sunday with you, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, most of you probably don't associate me, a Roman centurion, with Easter Sunday. You think of me as Good Friday, the one who crucified Jesus. But I'm here today on this Easter Sunday to tell you that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, changed my life forever. As I mentioned, I am a Roman centurion, and it was my job to oversee 100 different soldiers. One of our jobs was to oversee the crucifixions, the execution of criminals. Crucifixion was a horrific way to die. And so you could actually say that I was the one that oversaw the crucifixion of Jesus. I was Jesus' executioner. Now, I'm not proud of that fact, but it is a fact. I don't know how most of you feel about capital punishment. I believe that's what you call it in your day. But in Rome, we believed in capital punishment. And we didn't practice it behind closed doors where only a few people could watch. We practiced it openly. And people who died of crucifixion, it was an awful way of dying. People would sometimes last on those crosses for several days before they died of exhaustion and agony. Crucifixion was a horrific way to die. But I tell you, it was a deterrent. We practiced it openly, not privately, behind some closed doors. And people in Rome were crucified because they committed serious crimes. Crimes like murder, treason, crimes against the Roman government. We sent a strong message that if you broke the Roman law, you in turn would be broken. And on that Good Friday, I was brought face to face with Jesus. And it was the first time in all my life as a soldier, as a Roman centurion, that I came to realize that I had executed, crucified an innocent person. I found no matter how hard I tried to escape it, I came to realize that this person, Jesus, hanging on the cross, was innocent, and that I myself was guilty and not him. Now you may ask, who was the one that set the order in place to have Jesus executed, crucified? Well, it wasn't me. I was just carrying out orders. I was a soldier. No, it was a fellow by the name of Pilate, Pontius Pilate. Pilate was the procurator of Judea. He was the Roman leader in Judea. And I tell you, he wasn't very much appreciated with the Jews. And I can understand that. They didn't like being ruled over by the Jews, by the Romans. The Jews didn't like being ruled over by the Roman government. And so we had our duty. And as Roman centurions like myself, we had to carry them out, those responsibilities. But we were not very popular among the Jews. And so I was ordered to bring Jesus before Pilate to be tried, to be questioned. And as I watched the events unfold with Pilate questioning Jesus, it became very clear to me that Jesus was the one really in charge of what was going on, and Pilate was the one that was trying to defend himself. And just watch as these events unfolded. The Jewish leaders became angry and insisted to Pilate that they crucify Jesus. And Pilate tried to do things to try to maneuver and scheme to get out of this, but he knew that he was in trouble. And he knew that if he was not careful, the Roman government would come crashing down on him. And so eventually he asked the crowd, the mob that had been forming outside, "What do you want me to do with Jesus?" And they said, "Crucify him." And the chants became louder, "Crucify him, crucify him." And so it was like Pilate felt his hands were tied, and so he handed Jesus over to me to crucify him, to get him ready for the crucifixion. And when Pilate released Jesus into our custody, me and my men, my soldiers, we had a field day with Jesus. You see, Jesus had claimed to be king of the Jews. And so we thought if he was the king of the Jews, then we would mock him as the king of the Jews. And we bowed down before him and said, "Hail, Jesus, King of the Jews." And we slapped him and beat him up. One of the soldiers thought, "Oh, he deserves a robe." So they put a robe on him, all in mocking. Someone else went and said since he's a king, he needs to have a crown. And so they found a crown made of thorns, and they pushed it down onto Jesus' head. Pushed it hard, and eventually there were drops of blood that was coming down on Jesus. And we mocked him and we beat him. It's almost like he almost died because of our beating that we put him through before it was even time for him to be crucified. His back was just a mess from our whippings and our beatings. And then it came to the point where we had to lead Jesus up to the place to be crucified. He had to carry his cross to a place called Golgotha, the place of the skull. But he had no strength left in him to carry it. And so we ordered a bystander along the way, a man from Cyrene, to carry Jesus' cross for him the rest of the way. And eventually he came to that place where he was going to be executed. And we placed Jesus Christ's cross, that pole, into the ground, and we hoisted Jesus up. And we drove those 6-inch long spikes into his legs, into his hands. But it was interesting as we watched Jesus on the cross. I mean, usually when we saw criminals on the cross, people being crucified, they were either in so much pain and agony, or they would just scream down hatred to us Roman centurions, to us Roman soldiers. But Jesus was different. Very different. See, there were two criminals on either side of Jesus. One of them was mocking Jesus, but he did not retaliate. And the other one beside him on the other cross said, "Jesus, remember me this day in your new heavens." And Jesus said to him, "Before this day is over, surely you will be with me in paradise." And then what is amazing, as Jesus was on that cross in such agony, he didn't spew down hatreds towards me, his executioner. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And I realized there was something different about this one, Jesus, saying, "Father, forgive them, these people that are doing this to me. Forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing." Such love, such compassion I've never seen before. It was then I realized he was an innocent man. But there was nothing I could do. He cried out at that moment in Hebrew or Aramaic. I didn't understand what he was saying, but it sounded like he was crying out to Elijah or one of the prophets. I didn't understand. But something I did understand when Jesus said, "I am thirsty." And so I ordered one of my soldiers to grab a hyssop stick, a branch, and to have a sponge and to dip it in the sponge into some of our cheap wine and to hoist it up to Jesus to help him out in that moment. And as that was taking place, I felt like there was nothing I could do. He was this innocent person being executed. But that at that moment, the sky became dark. I mean, it was like pitch black. And this was midday. And it didn't become dark for a few minutes, but it was dark for 3 hours. And it was like this darkness was because of him. It was like all creation was crying out because of him, because of what I had done. And I knew that darkness was because of him, and that darkness was because of me. And then Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "It is finished." And then he died. It was then that the earth began to shake and the rocks split open, the tombs opened up. Some people even reported that the dead came out of these tombs. I don't know, but this is what people were saying at that moment. But all I know and what I believed is at that moment that I had executed an innocent man. And it was at that moment that I believed that this Jesus Christ was an innocent man, but not just an innocent man, but surely he was the Son of God. Surely this one Jesus is God's Son. And at that moment, I switched my allegiance from King Caesar to King Jesus. And he died. But 3 days later, rumors began to spread around. Rumors began to spread that Jesus was not dead. He was alive. Oh, yes, there were other rumors going around. There were rumors that Jesus' disciples came and overpowered my Roman guards who had been guarding the tomb of Jesus and taken his body. But I knew there was no way this defeated group of disciples could overpower my guards and steal his body. No, I came to realize and believe that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was alive. And not only that, but after that, Jesus appeared to people. He appeared to the women. He appeared to individuals. He appeared to disciples. There was a story going around that Jesus kind of walked through the walls and appeared to his disciples, to Thomas, who had doubted about his resurrection. He touched the nail marks in Jesus' hand, and he believed that Jesus was the Son of God. Jesus appeared not just to individuals and the women and the apostles, the disciples, but he appeared to large crowds. And I am here today to tell you, Jesus is alive. He is risen. He is risen indeed. And I put my faith and trust in Jesus Christ. I believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, for my failures, for my shortcomings. He died for me and he died for you. But he rose again. Surely he is the Son of God, the living God. And anyone who puts their active trust in King Jesus, their lives are changed. My life was changed forever. He gives us the privilege, the opportunity to follow him as our King, to further his great kingdom here on earth, even in difficult and troubling times. The reality is still the reality that Jesus Christ is alive, and it changes everything. He is risen. He is risen indeed.